My name is Nicole Hunt. I'm a spokesperson for Focus on the Family, as well as a mother to 4 children. I'm here on behalf of myself and Focus on the Family to strongly oppose House Bill 1312 and respectfully request a no vote. The bill is misleadingly titled Legal Protections for Transgender Individuals. A more accurate title would be How to Break Up Families and Use the Law to Steal Children from Their Parents. If passed, even with the amendments, this bill would compel loving parents who disagree with transgender ideology to affirm their minor child's gender confusion or face losing their child. Let me put that a different way. If this bill becomes law, parents will be forced to embrace the state's preferred speech, or the state will take their children away. This measure is anti-reality, and it intentionally undermines family unity. It would force parents to support dangerous experimental drugs, hormones, and surgeries for their children struggling with sexual identity confusion. This is an obvious attempt to force state-sponsored radical gender ideology speech on Colorado's families, and it is unconstitutional. Focus on the Family firmly believes that parents have the fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children, including their healthcare decisions and their moral and religious training. This bill would violate those rights. Beyond the immediate danger this measure poses to the family, it would also threaten free speech by forcing schools and businesses to support gender-affirming policies or be sued for discrimination. This bill is coercive, illiberal, and dystopian. For these reasons, we implore this committee to vote no on House Bill 1312. Thank you.
My name is Glenn Stanton, and I'm a Springs resident since 1993, and I work as a research analyst at Focus on the Family. HB 1312 will greatly harm children and families because it is based on an ideological theory of humanity rooted in nothing objectively real. That thing is gender theory, a wholly counter-scientific belief system that holds that our subjective psychic conception of ourselves is truer and more real than objective biology and must never be questioned. Sex and gender are not different things. The claim that they are is a novel ideological construction. HB 1312 was intentionally drafted with no age limit and ensures that any cautious parent or teacher who compassionately tries to help a gender-confused child embrace their natural biology could lose their child or job. This is a staggering overreach and significant, given that it is well documented that most gender-confused youth come to live happily with their natural biology if allowed to go through puberty. This bill would thwart that healthy and natural process. The British Medical Journal in just 2023 published an investigative report entitled "Gender Dysphoria in Young People is Rising, and So is Professional Disagreement." It documents how medical societies in France, Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, Finland, and England are seriously discouraging transgender medical interventions for their youth. Ireland is headed in that way right now. That bill and its companion, HB 1309, sends us headlong into what so many other enlightened countries are now retreating from. In 2024, the British Medical Journal's editor-in-chief said that all these actions have very little support in the medical literature. It is clear from the writing of this bill and for both sides, as we've witnessed here this afternoon, that this bill is a dumpster fire that should die. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jeff Johnston. I'm here representing Focus on the Family and our millions of constituents, both in Colorado and across the nation, who oppose HB 1312, a truly horrible piece of legislation, no matter how many sections you strike from it. As a small child, about 4 or 5 years old, I was shy, smart, and anxious. There were times I wanted to be a girl, playing dress-up and dolls with my sisters. Somehow I thought life might be better if I were a girl. I have no doubt that if I were growing up today, some would push me, even without my parents' knowledge or consent, toward attempting to live as a female, with all the destructive and disfiguring drugs, hormones, and surgeries that go with those efforts to live in a false identity. Instead, I outgrew those thoughts and embraced the truth. I was male. My body was male. I would always be male. I'm a man made in the image of God. People of faith and common sense who believe what is evident in science know these truths. There are two types of humans, male and female. There are not an infinitude of genders, and no one can change into the opposite sex, even with clothing, makeup, drugs, hormones, and surgeries. Members of this legislature have shown deep contempt for those of us who embrace reality, calling us haters and likening us to the KKK. But we are not the ones irreparably harming children. We are not the ones suppressing free speech. We are not the ones assaulting parental rights and attacking religious freedom through totalitarian measures like HB 1312. We will continue to speak the truth. We will not live by lies. I urge you to vote against this bill.
Question for Ms. Hunt. So it's generally assumed that absent extraordinary circumstances or unusual circumstances, parents have the control of the upbringing of their children till 17, 18 potentially. But you've talked about this, a law like this injecting the state into that dynamic. And can you elaborate on what you see the dangers of that being within the family decision-making process?
Absolutely. Thank you for the question. I would say first that in order to have a comprehensive conversation about parental rights, it's really important for these committee members to consider what the United States Supreme Court has consistently affirmed about parents' rights. And what they've said is that there is a fundamental right to direct the upbringing, the education, and the care of their children. This is a principle that's rooted in due process clause and the 14th Amendment. But I'll tell you what, and all the moms and dads who are here opposing this bill today, they will tell you that it is a God-given right that they have to direct the upbringing of their children, and to have the state come in and compel certain types of actions, speech, to compel experimental drugs, or to face the potential of losing their child is directly interfering with what the United States Supreme Court has said is a fundamental right grounded in the United States Constitution. So I would encourage this committee to think back to the guiding principles of this country, the US Constitution, and our God-given rights to be able to raise our children in a way that is consistent with our beliefs, especially if we are loving them and we are directing them in a path that is positive.